welcome back to the skid factory. Last episode we pulled that engine out of that Mint VL and pulled the head off. Head's gonna get done up, cam put in it, that sort of thing. We're just gonna pull the sump off this and have a look and make sure it's got no sludge in it, make sure the oil pickup's all good. It has sat around for quite a number of years with an elderly driver not using it, so we just want to make sure that it hasn't sludged up and give it the best chance once we triple the power of it. So we'll just flip this bad boy over, cover the floor in schmutz and knock the sump off. Successfully covered the floor in schmutz, step one.
That doesn't look too good, eh?
No, I think it was probably a good move to pull this off. Tons of sludge. Even more in here. The hell?
It's that bloody 8-ball again.
That would have blocked up that pickup quick smart. So, super low K engine, not always a great thing if it hasn't been serviced or driven for 20 years. We might have to pull it apart a little bit more, I think, which sucks, but you get that. That's cars for you. Sludged up. Just dropped a piston out to and rod out to make sure it's not a complete train wreck. The car was running well, no problems with it as far as I know. It's not got bad bearing wear or anything like that. It's just got a lot of tarnish and like gum all over it. The rings are still nice and free. So I'll just check out the crank and the bore and that and see what we're going to do. We'll probably have to pull the whole engine apart just to clean all the gum off it, the sludge and everything. Clean up the oil pump at the minimum, but we'll keep looking and see what we can find. This did not go to plan. But things aren't getting any better. There is some actual corrosion in the bore. Like the engine's probably sat for many years in the one position without being turned over, and just moisture and stuff's got in there and caused sort of a corrosion here in that cylinder, and these two must have been up. These two are a quarter of the way down, so they got a little bit too. So I'm just going to run this hone through there and see if it will clean up. If it won't, it's rebuild time. There's not much we can do about it. Pretty happy with that actually. It came up pretty nice for that quick hone. So it might only just be a little bit of surface corrosion. We'll give it a little bit more. Still gonna have to pull the engine down and re-ring it. Probably put bearings in it just because of all the sludge and clean everything. So a little bit more work than we'd had planned. But that's cars for you. Why you do this to me, Tom? Why you bring me junk? happy with how the hone job went actually. It's all cleaned up really nice. So I think we're going to commit to just doing an overhaul, I guess you'd call it, just rings and bearings and clean everything up. So obviously not replacing pistons and rods and things like that. That's going to turn into a massive job. This engine is very robust. It doesn't really need anything but standard parts for what we're doing. They were pretty overbuilt in the day, apart from a few niggling issues with oil pumps and stuff like that, depending on how hard you're driving. So Tom doesn't really want to spend ridiculous amounts of money, and I don't really want it to take forever to do. So we're going to commit and pull it apart, hot wash it all up at Old Cox in his big giant car parts dishwasher. That's the greatest invention ever. And we'll reassemble it with some new bits after we hone it. So this is basically something anyone could do in their garage if you've got some mechanical knowledge. You can buy all the tools to do this from Super Cheap Auto and buy the parts from Golby's or your local part shop, no problem at all. And it's all pretty reasonably priced too, because this is a very common engine. So let's do it, I reckon.
Before we go and visit Old Cock, the engine needs to be teared down to a bare minimum so that we can clean each and every part. The engine mount and all the ancillaries are carefully removed and placed on the table for safekeeping. The conrod big end bearings are undone and each piston can be removed one by one.
Seal of approval.
All that's left to remove is the main bearing girdle and crankshaft.
We've got it all apart now so we can continue honing. We honed the first one with it together just to see whether it was even going to be worth bothering with. You can see we taped up the journal so no crap got into it. That's a good practice if you are going to hone. Not every engine is worth pulling completely to pieces to do a hone and re-ring job on it. A lot of the time it's got to be done in the car, because they're not worth doing anything different with. So if you are doing it in the car with the crank still in it, just tape up the journal so you don't get hone schmutz inside it. So we'll do the rest of them now. And I'm just going to scrape all the junk off it and clean all the gasket surfaces up before we hot tank it. Not hot tank it, put it in the dishwasher. Because once it's out of the dishwasher clean, we don't really want to be filling it up with more junk from cleaning it again. So we'll do all that now. You might have noticed the bottom end of this engine, if you're not familiar with RBs, has got what they call a girdle. So all the main caps are in one piece, like a big cast piece that's then machined. That was a pretty big deal back in the 80s, early 80s when they designed this engine. So they were pretty decent motors back in the day. Still a lot of people playing around with them, of course. I suppose that everyone's going to say, is it as good as a JZ? The answer in my eyes is no, it's not, because it was designed 10 years before the JZ. The JZ engine has got there's things that are wrong with these engines that doesn't affect a JZ because they probably got one of these back in the 80s and went, how can we make a better one? Because that's what the Japanese engineers used to do. They would get the best of the competition, look at it and make it better. And then that's why all the engines back in the 90s and that were really good, because they just went crazy with them and did more stuff than they needed to. So still good engines. They do the job. It's in the car. You don't have to change anything. So we'll fix her up, whack a big turbo on it and get it done.
There's still a lot of gasket material stuck on the engine, which is all removed before being washed. Al then lightly hones the rest of the cylinder bores.
You've still got a couple of watermarks in there, which is not ideal, but it's about 150% better than it was before, which is pretty impressive.
Carbon cleaner works wonders when it comes to an excess build-up of schmutz. The foam spray is squirted throughout all of the oil galleries, which can sit and soak for 30 minutes before going in to see Old Cock at Noosa Radiators.
I love cheating.
Cheating?
I love Old Cock's dishwasher.
You said you love Old Cocks.
It's you that said that.
With all the parts washed, it was time to crack a cold lemon squash and enjoy the sunset.